Some of the more challenging questions you're going to get asked in your interview with Goldman Sachs are behavioral interview questions. They're incredibly common and they can be really challenging to answer in the moment. In today's video, I'm going to give you some of the actual behavioral interview questions that Goldman Sachs asks in their interview process, and I'm going to teach you from a recruiter's perspective exactly what you need to say to answer them and nail your interview. I'm also going to give you a framework on how to answer all the behavioral interview questions you will get in this interview and any interview moving forward. Now, this is video 2 of a 4-part series, so if this is the first video you're seeing, make sure you go and watch the original first video and watch to the end here, because at the very end of this video, I will link up the next video so you can seamlessly go to the 3rd and then 4th video in the series. And if you watch all 4, well, you should be positioned to dominate your interview. All right, let's get started. Now, first things first, what is a behavioral interview? A behavioral interview question is basically any question that asks you to draw upon a prior example of something that happened and walk the interviewer through what you did to handle that situation, solve the issue, etc. How do you know you're being asked a behavioral interview question? Well, they typically start with a sentence, tell me about a time when, or give me an example of a time when, or can you share an example of a time when? But what you're looking for there is time when. Share an example of a time when, something like that. Basically, they're prompting you to talk about something that's happened in your past and walk them through it. Now, whenever you're asked one of these questions, you want to use the STAR technique. And the STAR technique is basically a strategy on how to answer a question like this. It's an acronym, and it stands for situation, task, action, result. What was the situation you were in? Where did you work? Task. What was the specific task that you needed to perform, right? What was going on in that moment? Action. What did you specifically do to remedy the situation? And then R for result. What was the outcome of everything? And when it makes sense, you might want to throw an L on the end for lesson. What did you learn in this moment? All right, so that's how you answer them. They should probably take you anywhere from 60 to 120 seconds to answer. Let's go into some of the actual questions they're going to ask you. Now, the first question is, tell me about a time you had to resolve an issue with someone senior to you. This is a really common interview question, or at least there are common versions of this. A common question is, tell me about a time you disagreed with a superior, right? But basically, when you have one of these questions where they're basically asking you to identify previous conflict, what they're looking for here is, how did you handle it? Did the temperature get high, or were you able to handle it like a calm, cool, and collected professional? So what you want to do here is talk them through the situation you were in, okay? Where were you working? What was your role? Task, who was the person that you specifically had the disagreement with? Action, how did you go about resolving this, right? And then R, what was the outcome? Now, in the story, you need to resolve the conflict, and it's really important that you use an example where you did it in a way that was respectful, right? And it shouldn't be something that's highly confrontational, right? If you have some sort of conflict or disagreement, you should be able to handle it in a way that's consistent with their values. They value teamwork, and part of teamwork is occasionally disagreeing on an approach and having some sort of conflict and resolving it. So make sure when you talk through this example, you're cool, you're calm, collected, you don't talk negatively about that person, you just had a mere differing of opinion. That's okay, that happens. So be calm, do not trash talk the person, walk them through the resolution, and that should be good. One of the hardest things about behavioral interview questions is just having that example off the top of your head. But knowing that this one's coming, you can think of an example and you can prepare to talk through it in a cool, calm, and collected way. The next question is, describe a time that you succeeded despite being under tremendous pressure. This is an interesting question because it makes me feel like the role you're going to be interviewing for is high pressure if you get this, if you get this question. But it's really important that you do a few things. Follow the STAR framework, right? But also, you need to convey in your answer, you are the type of person who does not get rattled in intense situations. Rather, you find yourself motivated to succeed. You do well under pressure. They need to feel that when you're answering this question. So you want to give them this, this story, talk them through it, situation, task, action, result, walk them through using the framework, but make sure in there, somewhere you say, these are type of situations that in my career I found myself faced with frequently, and I actually kind of enjoy them. I like being up against the clock. I like the pressure. I feel like it gets the best out of me, so I'm really comfortable finding myself in these moments, right? Something like that lets them know, okay, well, this is a person who, if they find themselves in a pressure-filled situation, isn't going to crack, they are going to be fine. The next question is, give me an example of a time where you streamlined a process. Here, they're just looking for your ability to streamline things, right? How can you look at something with a lean mindset, find the inefficiencies, and find a way to make it, whatever it is, more efficient? So I think this is a relatively easy question if you have the time to think of something beforehand. Like in the moment, on the spot, it might be hard to think of this if it's something you've done rather infrequently, right? If you're a continuous improvement engineer, you probably have all the examples in the world. But if you're like a person who has on occasion worked to streamline a process, it might be hard to think of something and then remember all the details. So make sure you familiarize yourself with all the details here. You want to be able to look at it and talk about what the benefit was, right? At the end of this, you streamline a process. What was the outcome here? What was the benefit? How did this benefit you, your team, your organization? So make sure you can quantify that. And again, they need to feel that this is something you are comfortable doing, and maybe you even enjoy it. You enjoy finding processes and finding a way to make them more efficient. And if you can do that in your answer, you should do great. Now, the most important question you're gonna get asked when you're interviewing with Goldman Sachs is, why do you wanna work here? If you don't have a good answer for this question, you're probably not gonna get the job. In fact, it's so important that I dedicated an entire video to it, and that's this video here. In this video here, I will walk you through how to answer the most important question you will get asked in your interview with Goldman Sachs. So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there.